Listen closely, because this story begins in a place the world tried to forget, a place where sandstorms whispered secrets older than some empires. Picture this, a golden horizon stretching endlessly across the Sahara, the sun sinking low, and beneath that shifting desert, a city of scholars, manuscripts, and knowledge so vast that even today, historians struggle to comprehend its scale. Most people hear Timbuktu and think of a distant, isolated village. But centuries ago, this very city was the beating heart of African intellectual power, a crossroads of caravans, gold, salt, and some of the greatest minds to ever walk the earth. Yet somewhere along the journey of time, its brilliance was buried under myth, silence, and sand. But what if I told you that hidden beneath this desert city was once one of the largest libraries in the world? A treasure of nearly 1 million handwritten manuscripts, some older than the Renaissance, covering mathematics, astronomy, medicine, philosophy, poetry, and even complex legal systems. A library so vast that European explorers refused to believe it existed because it challenged everything they thought they knew about Africa. Imagine parchment pages kissed by desert winds, delicate ink strokes capturing ideas that traveled across continents, ideas that shaped kings, guided merchants, predicted celestial movements, and debated the very nature of the universe. Imagine the hum of scholars reading under kerosene lamps, the scratch of quills echoing through ancient mud brick streets, and the faint scent of papyrus drifting through the warm night air. But the true mystery is not just how this immense knowledge came to be, it's how it survived. Because history did everything it could to erase it. Invaders burned cities, empires collapsed, colonial powers dismissed African scholarship, and the desert, relentless, unforgiving, tried to swallow what remained. Yet the manuscripts endured, protected by generations who knew their worth. There is a moment few people know about, a night when men carried ancient books across rooftops, hid them under beds, smuggled them in sacks of rice, and buried them beneath floors just to keep them alive. A moment when preserving knowledge was a greater victory than winning a war. But before we reach that night of courage, we must first travel back to the beginning, to the rise of a city that became the intellectual miracle of West Africa, and the story of the scholars, kings, and travelers who built it. Stay with me. The sand is shifting, revealing more than you expect. But the towers did not only tell time, they witnessed everything. In the early 1600s, the Gaul tract, the region surrounding the tower, became a fierce battleground. The Portuguese, desperate to protect their hold on the island, fortified Gaul as if it were the last heartbeat of their empire. They built walls so thick that cannonballs bounced off like pebbles. They stationed musketeers along the ramparts, scanning the ocean for the dark silhouettes of enemy sails. But enemies always come. In 1640, the Dutch East India Company arrived with a fleet that cut through the mist, their flags snapping like whips in the wind. They wanted Galle Harbor, its spices, its strategic power. The clash that followed was brutal, gunpowder smoke choking the sky, the roar of cannons shaking the earth, and flames dancing across the fortress walls. While the world remembers kings and commanders, the tower remembered the forgotten ones. The barefoot local fighters who charged with nothing but spears. The families hiding behind stone walls, praying the winds would blow the fire away. The monks on the hill who lit incense and whispered, "This too shall pass." After days of relentless fighting, the Portuguese fell. The Dutch claimed Gaul, and with them came clocks, lenses, new sciences, and new ambitions. They repaired the battered tower and gave it purpose again.
Travelers said the tower's clock echoed across the coastline like a heartbeat, steady, patient, eternal. But beneath that calm tick-tock lay something strange, because as the decades passed, stories began to spread. Stories of soldiers who vanished near the tower, of a monk who claimed he saw shadows climbing its walls without bodies, of a lantern that glowed on stormy nights when no one was inside. Superstition? Maybe. But the people of Gaul believed the tower was watching, and they weren't entirely wrong. By the late 1700s, the tower had survived 3 empires, countless storms, and more battles than the stones beneath it could ever confess. Yet its greatest story was still waiting to unfold. When the British arrived in 1796, they approached Gaul not with fire, but with precision. They expanded the port, studied the winds, and treated the fortress like a chessboard. But among their officers was a man named Captain Arthur Bell, a surveyor obsessed with strange phenomena. He had heard the whispers, stories of missing soldiers, moving shadows, and the mysterious light that appeared only during monsoon storms. One night, during the heaviest rain Gaul had seen in years, Bell climbed the tower alone. Locals begged him not to go. They said storms awakened the tower's memories, and its memories were not always kind. Lightning struck the sea in blinding flashes. Waves slammed against the rocks with the fury of 1,000 drums. Yet inside the tower, Bell found something that froze him where he stood. On the inner wall, long hidden beneath layers of plaster, was a faded carving, a spiral symbol intertwined with strange marks. It did not belong to the Portuguese, nor the Dutch, nor the British. It was older, much older. He traced the spiral with his lantern, and the flame trembled as if something in the stone breathed back at him. Before dawn, witnesses saw a lantern glowing at the top of the tower, then suddenly vanish. When the storm ended, Captain Bell was nowhere to be found. His journal, soaked and half-burned, was discovered near the shoreline. The last line read, "Some structures do not simply exist in time. They preserve it, and sometimes they reclaim what was theirs." Today, the Gaul clock tower still stands, quiet, weathered, timeless. Tourists take photos, children play nearby, but when storms gather over the sea, locals look toward the tower with uneasy eyes, because they know something most visitors don't. The tower is still keeping count, and some believe it's waiting.